What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for another Tottenham update. There are a lot of updates to talk about this Monday morning, so let's get straight into it and let's start off with the Tottenham Go. Ali Gold, the Here We Gold, first place to go for your Tottenham news, and he says Tottenham are open to offering Hugo Lloris a new deal, and it's up to the goalkeeper to make a decision on his next step. The decision lies with Hugo Lloris.
Yeah, and I think a lot depends on how we end the season in terms of what Lloris will want from in the next step of his career. I think I wouldn't be too upset if he stayed, or I still think he's got a couple years left in him. I still think he's a good keeper, but I also wouldn't mind us looking to the future a bit and thinking about a long-term replacement for him. So either way, I'm pretty happy with the whatever Lloris wants to decide, but I guess it's important to get it sorted as soon as possible.
Yeah, look, I think he's given a lot of good years to Tottenham Hotspur. I think 9 years he's been here now. Absolute brilliant professional, brilliant goalkeeper as well. Obviously our club captain. So I think that he's still a good enough keeper for him to make that decision and for the decision to rest with him. I don't think it would be too much of a problem if he was our first choice keeper next year. I think that we've got more pressing issues within the squad, within the defensive system within that squad as a part to Hugo Lloris. I mean, yeah, we do need to start thinking about his replacement, but it's not that urgent that it has to be this summer. I mean, it could be next summer.
Exactly. So, although he's 34, I can't see too much of an extension for him. Maybe a 1 or 2 year extension on what he currently has, but we have to see. I still think he's a good keeper. So I think people underestimate him in terms of people always say he's finished whenever he makes a mistake and stuff. But I still think he's good. So I think if we want to keep him on, I'm not too adverse to that. But also, if we want to sell him, make a bit of money and bring in someone younger, think to the future, I'm all in favour of that as well.
And following on from that, the Telegraph have been reporting that Burnley goalkeeper Nick Pope is the most likely successor to Hugo Lloris, although such a move would require Tottenham Hotspur to secure European football or to offload some players.
Yeah, for me, I'd rather Magnan from Lille. I think he's younger. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Pope, and I think he kind of comes known by Sacramento and by Nuno Santos. But with Pope, it's maybe a bit of less risk. You know, he's proven, he's a bit older, a bit more experienced, and I think he's, you know what kind of level performance you're going to get from Nick Pope. So I can understand both ways of looking at it. But I think Pope's a good keeper, but I think I'd rather go for Magnan, to be honest, if it was a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm undecided because I really fancy Nick Pope as a keeper. I think he's a brilliant keeper. But ever since I kind of started rating him this season, he started to let a few mistakes come into his game. But look, if we're not going to put Hugo Lloris down on his mistakes, it's harsh to put Pope down on his mistakes this season, because I think Pope has had a very good season for Burnley and has had a good past few seasons for Burnley. So he's got Premier League experience. He's a very good keeper. He's battling his way to England's #1 at the moment. In terms of Mike Maignan, yes, he's very highly rated. He's known very well from our coaching staff. But me personally, I can't really comment too much because I haven't seen much of him play. Seen him play too much. So in terms of which keeper do I want to replace Hugo Lloris, I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, like I said, I rate Pope, I rate Henderson. Maignan's got a good... everyone thinks highly of him around Europe, so I wouldn't be too fussed out of all those three keepers who we take. I mean, I think I'll be happy with any of those three. But let's move on. This is also from the Telegraph, and they are saying Tottenham are likely to prioritise centre-back signings this summer with Sven Botman and Yannick Vestergaard, the two players the club have been watching over recent months.
Yeah, I think that Vestergaard is... He's a good centre-back, and he's a good Premier League level centre-back. He is 28 years old. He starts for Denmark. He's a big unit. He's like 6'4", so he's really got a big aerial presence, and he's actually a really good passer as well. He's got a really good passing technique, and I'm a big fan of his ability to play out the back. But in terms of what we need to really... a lot of our problems have been ability to push up the pitch and have that recovery pace in behind it. He doesn't really help with that. I think if we were to have another centre-back with him a bit quicker, obviously like a Sanchez, but like maybe someone better than Sanchez, then yeah, I think Vestergaard's not a bad signing, maybe a second or third choice. But if we're looking to revolutionise our defence and have that centre-back who's really going to take our defence and take it up a notch, he's not really the one to do that. But I wouldn't be against signing him as, like, if we're signing two centre-backs and he's one of them, I don't think that's a bad signing. But if he's like our only centre-back signing, yeah, that's not enough.
Sven Botman is a massive yes for me. Yeah, I haven't seen a bit similar to Mike Maignan. I haven't seen him play too much, but I know he's very, very highly rated by Sacramento and the coaching staff at Tottenham Hotspur, and also he has that Ajax DNA as well. The Jan and Toby DNA that came through at the Ajax academies as well. So Sven Botman would be a massive yes for me. In terms of Vestergaard, I would just stay away in my opinion, because I don't think he's too much of an upgrade of what we have right now. Maybe slightly, but he could slightly be a downgrade as well. But for me, Vestergaard doesn't excite me with kind of upgrading the defence, like you said. Like, we need to completely revolutionise this defence, and if it's not going to be a massive step upwards to what we have already, then I think we need to look at other targets. This one's from Estadio Deportivo, and they say Tottenham are closely following the developments of Marseille midfielder Florian Thauvin. His contract expires this summer.
Yeah, so he's on a free transfer and he's a good player. He has had serious injury problems over the past couple of years, unfortunately, which has hampered what was he had like 2 or 3 really strong seasons for Marseille, and he was regular in the France team. He's a real tricky winger, but those injuries have hampered him, and obviously he's always going to have that spell at Newcastle over his head where he did flop, despite he was there for about 6 months to a year and he didn't play much and he didn't get used to the Premier League in that time. And obviously they sold him back to Marseille, but he really has proved himself since he's gone back to Marseille, and he's been an absolutely fantastic winger. But is he the winger who's going to come to Spurs and really take that right wing spot and be a starter? There's big question marks over that. I'm not sure. I think in terms of a squad player, I think he's probably an upgrade on, say, Bergwijn or Lucas and players like that.
You reckon?
Probably, because I think he's shown he has that consistent end product. Even though it's in the French league, I think he's shown it consistently now for 2-3 years in a row, despite injuries recently. He has shown that, so I would think he is. But the big question marks are keeping him fit and whether he can adapt again to the Premier League. So I think those are 2 big question marks that are always going to be hanging over his head, which could prevent this deal from happening. But on a free transfer, you can't get much better than Thauvin on a free. So I wouldn't be against it, but I still think it wouldn't be the answer to starting him on the right wing if Bale leaves.
All right. The next story is from Build, and they say Marcel Sabitzer is 75% likely to join Tottenham Hotspur this summer. Spurs have already made contact with the midfielder who wants a move to the Premier League, and obviously Tottenham have had a long-standing interest in Marcel Sabitzer. It's quite widely reported and widely known. So he's one that I really, really want, and I think that when you look at our midfield and when you look at players that we need to start offloading this summer, Moussa Sissoko, Harry Winks, he is a massive, massive improvement, isn't he?
Yeah, completely agree. And I think he would be a real good quality signing to improve the squad for sure. I think he also adds not only quality, but he adds that fight as well.
Versatility too.
But I think he just adds that aggression with married with quality as well. Mm-hmm. He's one of those players who has the work ethic. He really doesn't get he gives 100% whenever he's on the pitch. He's one of those real try-hard players, and he has a lot of quality as well. So he would be a good signing. I just feel like we need Champions League football at the end of the season to really convince him. I think if we have a bad end to the season and a lot is up in the air and Mourinho leaves and Kane wants out and all things like that, then I can't see him wanting to come. But if we're more settled, if Mourinho's staying, if we're in the Champions League, then I think that's a lot more of an attractive prospect. So I think we really need to be in that kind of situation to convince him to come. So I think it remains to be seen from now to the end of the season what kind of happens for me.
Yeah, no, look, I think you're right there, but if we can get him over the line, it's just a massive, massive upgrade within the squad.
Definitely.
And it's very much needed. Let's move on. Dane Scarlett has signed his first professional contract with the club. After his 17th birthday last week, the contract will run until the end of 2023 season. So massive news for Dane Scarlett, and a massive news for the club as well, because he's very highly sought after, and every time we've seen him play, he's added something to the game, hasn't he?
Yeah, Erling Mbappe coming in, signing his contract. I'm very happy with that. I think it's important to be a bit patient because, I remember that, last season we heaped a lot of pressure on Parrott and stuff like that, and he hasn't quite he's had a few loan moves and it hasn't been the most successful, and he had a few cameo appearances last season and didn't exactly make an instant impact. But I think it's important to be patient. But I'm very excited about the prospect of another youth product coming through the system and going to the first team and being a big player for us. And there's a lot expected of Scarlett, but he's still only 17, and although he's made some really good cameo appearances, it's important just to temper your expectations, and he's going to take a bit of time to develop and stuff like that. So although I'm excited, still just want to just call for patience and not expect too much too early.
Yeah, I mean, even with the words from Jose Mourinho saying he's too good not to be in the first team squad for next season, calling him a diamond and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is important to have patience with this guy, with any sort of young player coming through the ranks. But on the flip side, we've seen a lot more from Dane than we've ever seen from Troy Parrott, with Troy being 2-3 years older than him. And when he's been in the first team squad, he doesn't really look out of place.
Yeah, when he's had a few cameos, he's always made an impact every time. Well, he hasn't quite scored yet, but he's always got into goal scoring positions and forcing keeper to make saves. He got an assist against I can't remember who it was, or Ludogorets or something. So, or was it Wolfsburger maybe even? So clearly he's got something about him. But again, we just need patience.
Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about Gareth Bale again, and he says it's very unlikely for Gareth Bale to remain at Tottenham for next season, and this is mainly down due to his wages.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Definitely a permanent deal. I can't really see being done unless Madrid are paying a large amount of his wages, because 600 grand a week, I mean, that's definitely Levy, not in a million is he ever paying that. And even 220 grand a week, which we are currently paying, it's only worth it if he's a lot more involved in the squad and if he's playing a lot of games and really consistently providing for us. And at the moment, he came into a bit of form in February, which was really good to see, and we thought maybe we got our Bale back, but with Arsenal and the Arsenal game and the Villa game, he didn't play that well. Those couple of games has really got the thought again, thinking, yeah, maybe this isn't going to work out. But he has gone away at Wales and had a good game against Belgium. So hopefully in the next 3 games he can really pull up some trees and play himself into that cup final spot, because it could be a big moment for him. But unless he has a mad end to the season, I can't see this continuing. Us paying 220 grand a week is we'll probably think the money's better spent somewhere else. But look, I still think it's a bit early. 9 games, there's 10 games left of the season. If he does have a really, really strong end to the season, then he could still convince us to part with some money to keep him for another year. But I agree with Fabrizio. At this moment in time, whether it's very unlikely, because it's unlikely whether he'll be on the pitch, whether Mourinho will allow him the time to have that mad end to the season. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we shall see how the end of the season plays out. Now, Sky Sports' Kaveh Solihkol was talking about Harry Kane, and he says it's virtually impossible for any club to afford Harry Kane this summer due to his contract and due to the pandemic.
Yeah, which makes complete sense. I think it's going to be very difficult for any club to be parting with a big sum like 120 million for a 28-year-old who has a history of injuries as well. So I think that I can't see, except for maybe Man City, I can't really see many clubs really stumping up that cash. I think they'll probably rather someone younger. But obviously, I think Kane's worth it. I think if you're a club who can afford Harry Kane, you definitely get him, because I really believe he could go on to play for a few more years yet, which I think he goes on to say, doesn't he? But I can't. It's going to be difficult for him to get a move this summer for that kind of money.
Yeah, I think clubs that can afford him: Man City, PSG, Man United. But will they want to spend on someone like him, or opposed to someone like Erling Haaland, who's got so many
Sancho
years in
or
front
something
of him?
like
We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But Harry Kane being one of the leading players in Europe at the moment, you never know. You never know what kind of offers can come about. And he's gone on and he's been talking to the press over the last couple of days. And let's just read out a couple of quotes. And this is on his future. He says, "I think that's a hard question to answer right now. It's important that all my focus is on the rest of the season with Spurs and then the Euros. I try to stay out of the speculation as much as possible."
Yeah, which is expected from Harry Kane. There's never really going to draw attention to himself. And he's always going to give a comment like that. And I think a lot is to be decided from now to the end of the season, because if we do go on an awful run and completely finish mid-table and lose the cup final, then I wouldn't be surprised if he says, look, there's nothing going on here, it's better to leave. But if we do have a strong end, if we do get Champions League and Mourinho is staying on, I do think it will be more convincing for him to stay. So I think there's a lot to be decided.
With his comments as well about calling out the squad with their lack of belief within the squad on the pitch, and their attitude that they're showing and the desire they're showing on the pitch, and how he's calling it a disgrace. Do you think that if we don't kind of make changes in the summer, then he'll even look to leave even more?
If we don't make,
If we don't make wholesale changes in the summer
with the squad,
yeah.
I'm sure keeping Harry Kane happy is definitely within one of the remits of Daniel Levy, like how Levy thinks. And I think, probably, to be honest, I think it definitely needs that overhaul. And I think there's definitely this mentality has been allowed to fester around the squad, clearly. And then one of his quotes is, "We didn't have any fight, any passion," and that's embarrassing from our point of view as players. We're the ones on the pitch, and we have to control that. And he's absolutely right, and it's goes to show he can see the problem, and he definitely, as someone in the changing room, he'll definitely know who the main culprits are. So it will be very telling to see what happens with all that in the summer. But it's hopefully we can get rid of all the poisonous people in the dressing room and convince him to stay.
And another quote from Harry Kane, he says, he's just talking about playing into his 30s, and he says, "You look at Lewandowski, Ronaldo, Messi, and see a lot of players coming into even better form when hitting their 30s. That's what I want to be doing. I'm 27. I still feel like I've got plenty more years to improve."
Exactly. And that's
exactly what you've
right.
been saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly what I've been saying. I don't think Harry Kane is going to be finished at 31, 32. And there's all this talk about everyone's worried about him moving in the prime of his career and stuff like that. And all the best years will, I think he's going to go on for a while. He was going to go into his mid-30s at the top level. I really believe that. And I think a lot of players like Messi, like Ronaldo, like Lewandowski are all lasting a lot longer. Lewandowski's 33 and he's still at top of his game, top goal scorer in Bundesliga, one of the top strikers in Europe. And Kane has that quality to adapt to any position in his later years. So he could be a poacher, he could drop a lot deeper, he could be be a bit of a passer, so he could do whatever he wants, Kane. And even though he's 27 now, going on 28, I think he's got many, many years ahead of him. So any talk of him slowing down, I think, is a bit very, very premature for me.
All right, and finally, Tottenham will be wearing green in the Carabao Cup final on the 25th of April. If you remember, we wore green in Ajax that night in Amsterdam, getting to the Champions League final. If we win this Carabao Cup, will the green be a very iconic colour in the Tottenham history?
Exactly. We're going to have to start getting a green kit every year. You're right. Obviously, we've had a lot of good memories in that green kit.
One good memory.
All good. All City as well.
That's
City
true.
as well.
Yeah.
So we beat City in the green kit in the Champions League. So that hopefully that could be a repeat of that.
We lost that night, didn't we?
We did lose 4-3. We went for an away goals, which is the main point. However, we did also lose in the green kit not long ago, a couple of months ago, 3-0 at the Etihad. So doesn't bode that well from that point of view. But I'm looking forward to this cup final. Hopefully the players over the next month really try their hardest to get in that team, and hopefully it can lead to a bit more competitiveness in training and to get into that starting 11 for that cup final. So I'm looking forward to this month. A lot of big games for Spurs. So looking forward to this, the Premier League coming back and getting this month underway.
All right, so there you have it. That is the Tottenham update for today. We had a lot of news to bring to you today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding anything we spoke about today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.